All right, what's good people? Welcome to episode 3, part 2 of power and responsibility. You know, not sure if y'all can see it in my glasses. I got my phone next to me. I'm gonna be looking down occasionally, make sure I'm still on topic and the next point. So, so the second part, power and responsibility. I think a lot of us probably know about Spider-Man, Uncle Ben. The famous saying, "With great power comes great responsibility." And you know, to me, for me, Africa and black people as a whole, we're kind of in a position. We're in a position of power, but we don't even realize it. It's like being to me. It's like if you were like a trust fund baby, and you had like $1 billion trust fund, but either you didn't know you had it, or you have it and you're doing your best to try to just like splurge and buy whatever you can with it, and you're not even realizing that you could invest it and grow it, or what any manner of things to help you and your community to build with it. But yeah um that being said, there's a wave of people recognizing that they have power. There's a continuation from episode 2 and part 1, the power of responsibility. So power, people have the power, right? We live in a democratic time, and supposedly, people are supposed to have the power. There have been increasing attempts for political, elite class. They're not really supposed to be elite. They're supposed to be servants. I think it's just now getting to the consciousness of the people that these people, they're supposed to serve you, right? It's like, I've been to Tanzania twice. Each time it felt weird for me because like I'm not accustomed to the culture. But I think it's mostly culture throughout Africa of having, if you're middle class, you have somebody that stays at your house and they'll help you do stuff like laundry and cooking and washing kids and dishes and all that. Maybe not doing everything, but like a certain particular part, is given to them. Lawn work, like there's somebody or one or two people that are constantly they come to you in your compound that'll help you do the things you need to do, and not have to focus on doing it all yourself, right? And that is pretty much the role of government. The government is not supposed to have to do everything, but they are supposed to make your life easier, right? And they're supposed to be in a servant position, right? So, the government, you're not expecting them to, have businesses to hire people all the time, but you do expect them to do stuff like build roads and infrastructure that'll help flooding is a big thing. Like, I had a debate, or I had a conversation with somebody who had a topic about skyscrapers in West Africa. Why West Africa, I think Nigeria specifically. Why our skyline isn't really dramatic. Why is it not like why is it not, it doesn't have that feel of I think y'all know what I'm trying to say. Like it's not like impressive. You look at it and right. But for me, my argument was you got to focus on the ground first, right? There's no point of building skyscrapers and nobody can afford to live there, right? And then while no one can afford to live there, maybe it'll be only foreigners like Chinese folks, Europeans, white Americans will be the only ones that could afford to live there. And that whole time, they're in a skyscraper. looking down on you, and you're in your compound and it's flooded outside, right? So, that was my argument. Focus on infrastructure, and then we can build, buildings like 10 to 20 stories for, us, to live in, that we can afford, I really should have saved this part for my next video, which will be on African architecture, which I have a real passion for. So, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's time to hold the political class accountable. We need transparency. It kind of took for Kenya to have their thing. The way they're doing their protest is kind of admirable, because they're not really attacking politicians, physically. I know, in West Africa, we probably not necessarily, when Nigeria's protests come up, this is coming. They're gonna try to be peaceful, but at the same time, we know the government doesn't plan to be peaceful, right? And the government in Nigeria is, like, oh, we can't have these protests because, we know the people aren't going to be peaceful, and everybody's saying that we plan to be peaceful, right? And then they use Kenya as a reference. I've seen them even use Libya as a reference, and it's like Libya got bombed, right, from outside forces, and you're going to try to say that protests what took Libya down. So you can see these political class doesn't even know history, right? Anyhow, yeah. And then, in Kenya, right, the people were peaceful, and while they're peaceful outside, they had the police throwing tear gas over them while they're being peaceful, dancing in the streets, they're getting tear gassed, right? They're getting rubber bullets shot at them, right? And, apparently they burned down the parliament, but from my understanding, it's possible that, the police actually might have shot folks inside of the parliament, and to cover their tracks of shooting unarmed protesters inside parliament, decided to burn it down so there's no evidence, right? But that's just a conspiracy, no one knows for sure, but I wouldn't put it past them, is all I'm saying, right? And on that level, right, the Nigerian protests I've seen, and I kind of, like I said, I agree, I agree with, the both sides of nonviolence, but also believe in defending yourself and not being anybody's bitch, right? Especially if these people are supposed to work for you, right? You're paying them, they're on your budget, right? They work for you, right? And there's no reason that they should be out there abusing you, right? Not that you should necessarily abuse them, but they definitely shouldn't be abusing you, and you're paying them, right? So, yeah. So understanding, with Kenya, I understand there's a lot of things that come with politics, right? We have inside influence, we have outside influence, and most of the influence comes from outside. In Africa, a lot of times, most of the times, it's outside influence, right? And, we have political leaders that'll be, they can get bribed, a lot of them get bribed. A lot of them, if they're not bribed, they get blackmailed, and there's a lot of levels of things that, economic hitmen will do in order to get African and, technically around the world, even in Asia, to get these politicians to play ball and, just play along with the status quo, right? And there's a time, if leaders want any kind of sympathy at all, these political elites, they want any kind of sympathy, they should be, open and transparent about what's going on, right? So, say some guy, there's a president, right? And, he says he really wants to do well by his people. Like, we're trying to give Phi a chance, right? Or, whoever it is, we're trying to give whoever a chance, right? And they're busy playing ball. They're helping the other team to win the game. And they're doing it because, they have maybe an illegitimate child somewhere that they don't want anybody to know about. and I think it might ruin their political career, stuff like that. You know, any kind of blackmail, like whatever it is, whether they're being bribed, they should tell. If they're being bribed, they should tell who it is, who it's from, right? If they're being blackmailed, they should be telling, they just, out themselves. Be like, yo, I got an illegitimate child, right? And, from now on, I'm gonna take care of my child, right? And I've always been taking care of my child, but I just haven't, been able to give them time and, all the stuff that comes with being the child's father, right? But, they're gonna join me here in the palace, presidential palace, and I'm gonna try to do my best outside of this to do the stuff we're trying to get done. I told you we're trying to get done. We got objectives. We're still on target for these objectives, and we're not gonna let any outside forces influence the policies that we're planning to make. Also, want to take the time to congratulate the Nigerian government, right? A country that's as diverse as Nigeria. It took many governments before, but definitely this government now is taking all those governments and this government including to get this Nigerian people to be this kind of united on a particular topic, or for any protest, right? So all of Nigeria pretty much is ready to protest. Even Igbos in Southeast Nigeria, they're a lot of them say they're not going to protest, but I have a feeling that a lot of folks will end up protesting at some point, because it's not just about federal level government that's messing up. It's also about local level. I feel like after you see the federal government, which is the highest branch of government, highest level of government, when you see them start to break down and capitulate and give in to your demands, it'd be like, why leave out the local governments who are also doing the same thing? If they're not delivering, it's time to hold them accountable too. Yeah, and yeah, and this is actually a point I should have made in my first video. I believe it was the first video, the first episode about voting, right? I believe voting should be part of, within our platform as Black people in America. We should also be very cognizant of foreign policy and how, foreign policy affects us, right? And, definitely for, Africa, we like to make sure we have, foreign, the Caribbean as well, like policies that positively affect our people outside, and to know that we'll get justice if we see multinational companies taking advantage and trying to destabilize an area so they can get the resources. We should be able to organize and be like, hey, you need to hold this company accountable because they're out here funding wars, trying to get coltan out the Congo. They're trying to destabilize over here. Somehow we always seem to have guns and weapons over here. We don't make guns, and that type of accountability to be held on the foreign policy side, right? And yeah, and also like especially for folks that complaining about I can see the complaint about immigration, right? You can't expect to destabilize South American and Central American and the Caribbean and all these places. You can't destabilize them economically and politically and expect them to, and then promote America as the number one place to be, and then I expect these people to run over and try to get here as fast as possible, right? And take advantage of what is the greatest country on earth, right? So I think that's all I got to say. I'm trying to make these videos a bit shorter. I realize folks don't stick around to the end. Yeah, but I'm just getting warmed up, still getting comfortable. See what tomorrow has in store. Yeah.